guy. Everyone keeps looking at me like I'm the bad guy, but I'm not the bad guy.
Well, you're not the good guy.
That's for sure.
Everyone thinks that I was hooking up with Nate when he and Maddie were still together, but that's not accurate. There was no crossover.
Cassie, please, just a little bit of peace, please.
But Rue made it sound like we were just hooking up the entire time, but I would never do that to someone I love.
Yeah, I don't think that's a real airtight defense.
It's the truth!
Oh, Cassie, you're driving me nuts. It's one thing to do what you did, and it's another thing to pretend you're all innocent and it's no big deal.
I'm just pointing out the facts.
Well, I'm pointing out the principle.
What principle?
The don't fuck your best friend's boyfriend principle.
That is what I am trying to tell you, Mom. They weren't boyfriend and girlfriend. God!
I don't care. I just want to watch my millionaire matchmaker in peace for 1 hour. 1 goddamn hour. Fuck.
Cassie was a very complex character on Euphoria. Obviously, we knew her as the desperate blonde girl obsessed with Nate, but there was deeper rooted issues. So today, we are gonna deep dive into Cassie's psyche and show you why she centered men and how it's all connected to her father wound and her abandonment issues from her childhood. But before we get into that, my name is Mel.
And I'm Charles.
And you're watching Remy TV. And no, we are not twins. We love to do self-development help, relationship advice, and we also podcast. And we have so many more things coming on Remy TV, your favorite YouTube streaming network. So make sure to turn on that notification bell. And let's get into this Cassie deep dive. So Cassie from Euphoria had a father wound. So a father wound is basically when there's psychological and emotional harm because a father is either absent, unavailable, abusive. So this can really affect how a person views themselves in everyday life, how they treat people in relationships that they're with. There's a huge effect on how their love life or their social life even gets impacted because of this. So today we are going to go over the 4 things that a father wound can create and how Cassie depicted basically all of them. Unfortunately, when you have a father wound, you are way more prone to becoming a girl who centers men. And this is because a lot of the actions you do will be to try to be worthy in a man's eyes because your father happened to neglect that. So yeah, one of the ways that you can have a father wound, if you're constantly seeking validation from men, because obviously in your relationship with your father, you didn't get that sense of love and comfort to feel like, oh, you're doing a great job, I love you, you're doing it, all that. If you had that missing in your childhood, that's what you're going to constantly seek with men in your life that isn't your father. So if you have an emotionally unavailable dad or a dad who is overly critical of you, you are going to be more likely to seek validation in romantic relationships. And Cassie from Euphoria was a perfect example of this. In season 1, when she started dating McKay, he was already showing controlling behavior, and where most women would say, shut it down, we can't talk to this guy, Cassie would just conform. Like when it was Halloween and she was dressed in that outfit, she thought she looked so cute, she felt super pretty. Yeah. She can't change the fact that she's got big titties. She's not making herself have big titties. And he was saying she looks like a slut and could never come to his party looking like that. Yeah, so he pretty much hypersexualized her and had the fear that every guy was going to see her that way. And because she wanted to be, you know, validated in his eyes, she just completely obliged, and she wasn't even happy about it. Like, she was literally uncomfortable. She looked sad.
Night too.
Holy smokes, look at you. Wow. Isn't Halloween tomorrow, hon?
At college, they have Halloween parties all weekend, Mom.
Oh, sweetie, you look so beautiful.
I'm Alabama Worley. From True Romance.
Look, I'm gonna be honest with you, Cass. I feel like if we go to this party and you dress like that, I ain't gonna ever hear the end of it.
In like a good way or a bad way?
In a bad way.
Okay, so what do you want me to do about it? This isn't even a real costume, okay?
Yeah, it is. What's wrong with a football player?
Girls with a father wound, they will constantly seek validation from their partner, even if it dims their light or even makes them unhappy. It's because there's this subconscious need to approval. Yeah, to please the male in their life that they have their object of affection towards. And another way that a father wound shows up is by recreating the patterns and dynamics that you had with your dad with your future partners. Now, we're not saying you're intentionally doing it, but your subconscious is going to do what it's programmed to do. So if you had a dad who was emotionally unavailable, and who knows, maybe he was like a tortured soul, you will go after a guy like that in hopes that you and that guy will have a prosperous relationships and it can fix the trauma that you had with your dad.
Yeah, so you will constantly be like, even if he has red flags, you know how those girls be like, oh my god, he's a walking red flag, I'm obsessed. That's what they mean. They're literally saying he's a walking red flag because most likely they had a father in their life, or a parent, honestly. It could be either parent, but right now we're talking about fathers. And they were like, I want to replicate that. I want to be with him so that way I can try to fix him or make it a better situation. It's like this weird need to try to fix the past.
And I think that's what Cassie was doing with Nate. Cassie's backstory showcased it was rough. Her dad was always seen as attractive. Women were always hitting on him in front of the wife. And Cassie, as a young child, was witnessing that, seeing her mother get upset and angry and fight with him. Then, not only was her mom an alcoholic, but her father was pouring into her when she was a little kid and then just stopped. He just stopped, became distant, became emotionally unavailable. She even mentioned at one point when she was having her abortion that her dad started doing heroin and stuff.
Insane.
So basically her dad became a figure that became a tortured soul. He went from being the most admired to down, dirty, struggling. And who does that remind you? Self-loathing. Who does that remind you of? Nate Jacobs.
When she saw that Nate was a very melancholy guy, there's things going on in his life, he's like so grunge and things are happening. So she's like, oh my god, I need to fix him. Like, I know I can make this work. That's when her energy was pretty much that. And he's like spitting in her face low-key. Like, his reaction to her is kind of like,
it's okay. Like, it's what she's used to though. And
so she's not feeling any type of way. She's like, oh my god, you baby boy, I love you. Like,
she's like, I know I have to fight to get affection from
because that's what I'm used to.
I know people were wondering how Cassie could do this to Maddie, but when you have a father wound plus this created a trauma where you center men, these type of girls cannot be loyal friends.
They have too much emotional like trauma.
Like, you are not a priority. It's just a fact for them.
Unfortunately, it's like you're not the priority, their parents are. You know what I mean? And subconsciously, they want to fulfill whatever trauma issues they have towards parents. In this case, it's her father. She's like, daddy, nothing else. Period.
Exactly. Another sign that you may have a father wound or someone you know may have a father wound is that they overcompensate for rejection.
So a father wound can really cause a feeling of rejection in your life. So that's exactly what you're going to try to stop happening in future relationships. So even if a guy may be really trash, you're like, no, I'm going to like stick it out and be with him, because not being with him is that sense and feeling of rejection that they used to feel from their father.
Like, if you were a kid where your dad didn't show up to your birthday party, a lot of times a kid sees that as a rejection, like he didn't want to come.
Exactly.
Like, these are little things, like they don't want the guy they romantically get involved with to reject them for whatever reason, because as a kid you don't even know what you did.
Yeah.
So that's what creates a fear when you're older, like, I'm gonna just overcompensate and do too much just in case. And that's what Cassie did again. On the show, Cassie was overcompensating in order to get Nate to even see her. This is why I keep saying that Nate is a mirror of her dad, because she's waking up at 4 a.m. every day, doing skin rollers, routines, makeup, hair, just to stand in the hallway and hopefully
gain the approval of Nate.
Like, that's not normal.
She needed to clear her head. And for those 3 hours she spent getting ready, she only thought about one thing. But there was also something refreshing about the amount of time she was putting into herself.
Out of sight, out of mind.
She loved the ritual, the attention to detail, the anxiety and excitement she felt in her stomach. And even if Nate pretended not to notice her.
And he wasn't even checking for her every day. She was persistent. She didn't care that he wasn't even looking at her. And the fact that she was willing to go as far as dressing up as his ex to finally get his attention should show you just how deeply wounded she is. This is only the acts of someone who is wounded. We're not saying that makes it okay. If anything, the wounded bleed on other people. Yeah, you need to watch out for people. Hurt people, as you probably heard before. And Cassie was definitely one of those hurt people who would hurt people. Hence why she was hurting Maddie and herself. Hurt people. And they do it because of their fears and traumas. Does that make it okay? No, which is why we say people need to deal with their shit and you need to do shadow work. Yeah, you really have to do shadow work and start being aware of your triggers so you can be a better person and not inflict pain on other people. Now, one of the major signs that you have a father wound, honestly, this can also show up for mother wounds as well. It's a fear of abandonment. So we all know how that shows up if you had a parent that was there very much. Now you see me, now you don't. If they went away to go get something from the store and never came back, all of that. Or they don't come back for 3 days, things like that. Or if your parent went on trips and left you alone for vacations for weeks on end, like you're used to people disappearing, this fucks you up later on. Because of this, when they have men in their life, they could be dangerous, they could be abusive, they could be really mean, or they could literally do nothing for them. They could be paying these men's bills, but cleaning and cooking for them every day. Cleaning, or literally paying their bills. He could have no job and will still keep him around because he's like, oh my God, but he's still giving me some type of love and affection that I didn't receive from my father, or he's actually physically in front of me where my father wasn't in front of me. So I'm gonna just have this because this is more than what I could even have in my childhood. Yeah, like when you lack that masculinity growing up, I find that when a woman gets to experience it romantically, it feels like a drug. Because women need masculinity. Yes, we have both. Everybody has both, feminine and masculinity, but just the same way men love feminine energy, we love masculine energy too. And I feel like when you have abandonment issues and you get to feel what it's like to have that, the idea of it being gone becomes very, very scary for someone who hasn't healed their trauma, making you do very outrageous things in order to keep that person around. Yeah, you might actually start, being a pick-me. So that's where a lot of pick-me's, this is how they're birthed, become born. It's the traumas from their past. And does it make it okay? We're not saying it does, but there is always a root to how things become the way they do. So if you have a father wound where he's abandoned you and you're always trying to keep men around, there is a big sign that you probably center men, because you're willing to center a man even if he's not good for you. And Cassie did the same thing on Euphoria with Nate. Yeah. She was constantly wanting him in her life, even if he was showcasing he's trash. Yeah, he was like literally disrespecting her, just not making her feel like a way a man should make you feel in a relationship, and she didn't care.
Fucking Christ.
If I would have known you were gonna get back together, I wouldn't have done this.
That's a lie.
It's not a lie.
You have this image of yourself as so fucking sweet and innocent. But it's bullshit. If you were a fucking sweet person, you wouldn't have fucked your best friend's boyfriend.
You two were broken up.
That is a comfort to nobody but you.
I can't do this.
Or you want to go tell Maddie?
Maybe I will.
You're afraid that I'm still in love with Maddie, so you're gonna do whatever the fuck it takes to destroy that. This isn't about being a fucking good person, Cassie, or being a fucking good friend. This is about you getting what you want. You can fucking leave or you can get into bed. It's up to you.
You know what you don't realize, Nate? Is I don't care what happens to me. I don't care how angry Maddie gets. You two shouldn't be together. You're toxic.
How would you know?
Because she's my best friend and I'm in a relationship with you. She's not good for you, you're not good for her, and I will do everything I can to prevent it.
Maddie, that's literally fucking insane. Maddie, Cassie,
See? This is what I'm talking about.
Maddie, because we're talking about how fucking crazy Maddie is, which you can't seem to fucking
No,
comprehend.
what you don't understand, Nate, is I am crazier.
That's not something to be fucking proud of, Cassie.
No, but it is something you should be scared of.
What the fuck? You can't fucking blackmail me into a relationship with you.
Blackmail means you don't have choices. But in reality, you do have choices. You just have to own up to the consequences of them.
That is the literal fucking definition of blackmail. If you don't do this, I'm gonna do that. It's blackmail.
I don't care. It doesn't change anything.
It's fucked up.
You know what's fucked up, Nate? You telling me that you love me and then going and being in a relationship with my best friend.
Oh, what the fuck? What the fuck is wrong with you? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Okay. Bye.
He's literally not good to you, but you don't care. You think, what, even just like having sex with him, you felt like that was intimacy. You don't even want to lose that. Like, why would I want to lose any type of intimacy with a man who's giving me the time of day? That reminds me of my father. Exactly. And we're telling you this because a lot of you guys aren't thinking of your parent outwardly. It's not in the forefront of your head that you're thinking of a parent while you're doing this. You're just doing it. We're here to connect the dot for you. Yeah, it's time to just start looking at your behaviors that you may have caused you pain and try to dig deep. Where did this type of thing come from? Or is there a behavior that the person exhibited that reminds you of someone in your home? That's a lot of times where it's coming from. Like, I've experienced this. I don't think there's one person who isn't doing one wounded thing, especially if their home had a little bit of issues. Like, there's no way you don't have a wound. It's pretty much impossible. So whatever things that cause you to be triggered or cause negativity or toxic relationships, look to see where this possibly came from. And then you have to unpack it, journal about it, cry about it. Even if it was horrible, avoiding it is how you become the toxic person in every single one of your relationships. Yeah. And you're gonna bleed onto other people, and you will be Cassie, who inherently is a bad person. We may be able to humanize her, but all jokes aside, she was not a good person. And she knew it herself. She said it in her first relationship with McKay. Trust a bitch that says she don't know if she's a good person. Yeah, I don't trust nobody that says that to me. I'm scared. I would look as spooked as he did. Hello?
I shouldn't be anybody's girlfriend.
What does that mean?
I don't know if I'm a good person.
Alright.
I'm sorry.
Alright, no, you ain't gotta say nothing else to me.
And then again, Nate screams in her face that she's not a good person. She don't really care. And then she herself tells Nate, I ruined my whole life for you. I ruined my whole life for you. And it's like, who told you to do that, babes? You're the one who's afraid of leaving him because of your trauma. Like, and he didn't do that. And what's crazy is the way, like, people don't even know that they're projecting trauma. Like, in that moment, in that same scene, when she just starts hitting his chest and hitting him, to me, it felt like that pain wasn't even fully all for him. It felt like she's pulling from another place, and he's just kind of like, and then you guys make out, and then you guys... It just seems like she's fighting with her dad. Like, she's, like, dealing with her dad through me. Yeah. And that's what happens to a lot of women in their relationships.
Ruined my fear.
So we did this deep dive today because we want to start breaking down wounded feminine women, but we want to show you that it comes in so many different facets, and people get so insulted when they hear wounded woman. But this is the truth. Like, it's unfortunate, but in our reality, there's no way you don't have trauma. It's almost impossible to not have trauma. There's always something that probably occurred that affected you in your adult life. So we're really trying to shed the light on how these things could be subconsciously there even right now. And we're trying to wake women up and heal them. We're trying to heal you. Yeah, because when you are able to be aware of your actions, be accountable for them, you can become the best version of yourself. And you get to take control. Yeah, you're in control of your life. Things can't hurt you as much when you're the boss bitch. Like, you can handle it. Because now you know. You're not just wandering the world going how and why. You go, oh, this happened to me when I was a kid. I can figure this out. I'm facing this. I'm moving on from this. I'm growing from this. I can now enter the world releasing that or being aware of it, so I can see when those triggers come up, and I'm able to bring myself back down. Or you can just be walking around a triggered bot plugged into the matrix. Yeah, and then when you're plugged into the matrix, that means you aren't working on yourself because you believe the fake programming and fake belief that therapy and working on your issues is like for crazy people. And then you perpetuate bad behaviors that you think are funny. And you go, I'm not gonna change. This is just who I am. And that is just the most farthest thing from the truth. You just don't want to be better. Just be honest with yourself. You don't want better for yourself. And we want better for you. So if you want to be better and you want to be a Remy rebel, go against the grain, strive for higher, make sure that you like, comment, share, and subscribe to the Remy Diaries, aka Remy TV, your favorite YouTube streaming network. And I call it a streaming network, guys, because we literally want to turn it into that. Like, this is just groundwork. Soon in the future, we're going to be producing reality TV shows on here, doing all types of shit. And guess what? You'll never want to change the channel. Bye.